Why do they build skyscrapers? Hi, everybody. This is Keith to the Truth, welcoming you to another video. Hopefully, you will appreciate the content. Be sure to check out my website. It's going to be up very soon, keystoTheTruth.com, so you can subscribe there and we can approach several other topics that we cannot on these open platforms. So let's begin. You've probably been to a large city sometime in your life, or you've seen one in a movie or on the news. They have these huge skyscrapers, glass covered, monolithic looking buildings. And well, they have their story that they tell us why they build them. Again, one of the most important keys to the truth is that they lie about everything. So we can, browse around for the explanations that they give us, and you will see that they fall flat on their face immediately. They do it, what do they say, because of the price of the square feet? That's BS, because there's not too much land left. Again, if you take a moment to think about it, these are all blatant lies. So do not ever believe what the mainstream tells you, what the textbooks tell you, what the media tells you. These are all lies, and that's a huge key to the truth. Just walk around the countryside for a while. Drive, ride a horse, whatever. There's huge amounts of land, for sale, or that are just completely, empty. Plots of land here and there, Arizona, Montana, the whole 9 yards. And these skyscrapers are actually pretty ugly. They have negative impacts on the cities and the density of the cities, the standard of living. So that explanation to lower the cost, or increase profitability at the cost of well-being, increase the well-being, livability in the city, it doesn't make any sense. Skyscrapers tend to have a very negative, deleterious effect on the environment in the city and the people's standard of living and their life expectancy. And if you've ever talked to a fire marshal, they're a huge fire hazard. They're a crazy fire hazard. Like, if you watched any of those movies, like Skyscraper that came out recently, or Towering Inferno, those things can, light on fire very, very quickly, and they become like a hellhole. And everybody there was going to have, seconds left to live because of the smoke or any other reasons. Earthquakes too. So it's like putting a bunch of people, in a casket of sorts. Excuse the dark humor, but that's exactly what it is. So that reason does not make any sense whatsoever, monetarily or human sense at all. The negative impacts, the negative effects of skyscrapers far outweigh any sort of possible benefits. There could be, other types of hazards as well. People that work in these buildings, they die. For example, the World Trade Center, there's said to have been 60 casualties while constructing the thing. And, these things don't come out in the news too often. Sears Tower, at least 5 deaths. And those are the ones that are reported, let alone the ones that go unreported. So these are death traps. They have a very dark side to them, which is usually not ventilated in the court of public opinion. Mortality rates are really high in skyscrapers. Your standard of living goes way down the higher up you are. Survivability, for example, of a heart attack or any sort of bad health condition, like extreme health condition like cardiac arrest, above the third floor already, you're looking to close to zero in your survivability rate. Not to mention the dissociation, the divorce, the isolation from the ground. You're being ungrounded. In the promise of living in these lofty heights, You're exchanging that from, separation from source, from nature. Although, I don't like calling it nature because it's a misnomer. There's no nature. There's creation. Everything is magical and made by the source, the creator of all. So if they put you into one of these standing caskets, death traps made of glass, you're completely separated from the environment. Your risk of cancer goes up, dementia, Alzheimer's, suicide rates go through the roof, all pun intended, when you're living in like above the third floor, fifth floor, 10th floor. So you have all this inner city problems, and it doesn't need to be a nice building. It could be a ugly building. We have so many of those that are just eyesores, and they make for visual pollution, if you will. And that starts messing with your mind as well. If you're seeing ugly everywhere around you, that has an impact, because that's what you're feeding your eyes, and you're feeding that to your mind and your intellect and ultimately your soul. So if you're outside, in the jungle or the forest or the desert, it's just so beautiful. There's no comparison. And you get that fed into your soul as well in a positive way, and you're more in touch with the natural energies that God created. For example, in DC, why are there no skyscrapers in DC? Tell me. They have all the BS explanations that you could possibly think of. But at the end of the day, nothing can be higher than the Washington Monument. And what is the Washington Monument encoding? What is it representing? They give you all the fake explanations. Oh, it's an obelisk. It's like the Egyptian obelisks. And it means, the phallus of Osiris. It's a phallic symbol. It could be. But that's just a middle of the onion. It's not the real explanation. That's just another fake explanation in the onion of layers of lies where they hide the truth from us. How come they have these everywhere? Every single country has these obelisks. Even the Vatican, even the Iranian flag has an obelisk. They tell you it's a sword, but it's not a sword. It's an obelisk. Look at it. Very plain and simple. And they're supposed to be, at odds with everybody. It's not true. Even North Korea has obelisks. See for yourself. Look it up for yourself. They're everywhere. Even Cuba. Aren't they supposed to, belong to a different clan or be at odds with, the free world? So you see that all that is BS. Every single country under the UN flag is part of the, cabal, elite, psychotic demons and demon worshippers, parasites we have surrendered our power to and let them take over our sovereignty. Now I will tell you the real explanation of why they built skyscrapers. Or actually, let's use a key to the truth. I'll let the elite spokesperson tell you himself in a movie. Okay, remember, another huge key to the truth is lies in the media, lies in the news, truth in entertainment. Why do they do this? They don't necessarily do this out of their hearts or anything like that. They do it for transmitting this information to their kids, their grandkids, their other clans members. They also do it as a sort of karmic, cosmic, full disclosure kind of deal. So we told them, they were just too blind to see it.
You might think so. Most would. This is more of a monument to a long dead and extremely powerful civilization.
So there you have it, folks. That's the long and short of it. They're telling you flat out, they're telling you, these are monuments. These are crystals. These are a homage. They're paying tribute to a former civilization, which was Atlantis, which was ruled by the fallen false gods, the fallen entities, the fallen angels that established themselves as fake gods down on earth. They did have supernatural powers, supernatural abilities, and they had the crystal technology that they brought down with them from wherever they came from. Now, this is very important to note here. Crystals per se are not evil, okay? They are what the universe is made of, and I will go into detail of that in another video, okay? Because it's a very long subject. I'll probably have to break it down into several videos, this being the first of them. Atoms and molecules do not exist. Please check out my video under that name so that you are aware of the CGI hoax fakery that are atoms and molecules. They're another psyop. The reality is that matter is composed of crystals. Consciousness crystallizes due to several factors into different types of crystals with different types of energies and attributes. This is not hocus pocus. This is not new age nonsense, fakery. Oh, the energies. This is legit physical reality, both physical and metaphysical reality of fact. And I will prove that to you through the course of several videos, starting with this one, showing you how the elites worship these crystals. Now, again, the crystals are not bad. They are made by God. Everything is made by and for the glory of God. So you have to know that. Colossians, look it up in the Bible. So he's the one that makes all the crystals, designs all the crystals. But that doesn't mean that you can't use it for evil. I mean, you could take water, something as innocent and beautiful as water, and use it to drown somebody, and now you're evil. You've used it for evil. But it's the intention of the one using it that perverts it or corrupts it, like the evil asuras and the devil and the demons and their followers. These people are using these crystals right now for evil, and they've used them in the past. Luckily for us, they've lost the brunt of the technology or the magic. They don't know how to use it properly. They're using a sliver, a shadow, a small portion of the technology right now. What do you think is powering your cell phone? What do you think is powering your computer? What do you think is powering your body? Everything runs on crystal magic. Absolutely, the whole world. This is a huge key to the truth. It's not a theory, it's a fact. Okay? And I will prove it to you through the course of several videos. Be sure to check out my video on how clouds float. This key to the truth led me to this revelation. Actually, God is the one that told me. He asked me to never take credit for it, to give him all the credit, because you give the credit where credit is due. God is the one that created all the crystals. You can also synthesize crystals. But again, that starts, you start manipulating, you start corrupting, things like that. Okay, just think of the salt of the earth. And that's a crystal too. Okay, it's keys to the truth. So what are you telling us? Are you telling us to worship and pray to the crystals? Absolutely not. That would be paganism. Okay? So it's a tool that God, through which God makes the universe. He could have used tiny microscopic pink unicorns if he wanted to, but he didn't. He used crystals. Why? Because just he wanted to. Period. End of story. And you can see that, even in the Bible, the book of Enoch, they refer to the crystals in heaven. They refer to, the throne of God being made of crystal. And I'll read from the scriptures directly here in a moment. But so, this ancient technology was highly developed. The civilization in the past was really, really advanced. There were never any monkey men, cavemen. Those are all hoaxes. The cave drawings and all that are hoaxes. Civilization started out really advanced with a perfect language, which is Sanskrit. And I'll give you the breakdown of that through the course of several videos. That's the language that God taught the humans. And the humans were in synchronicity with God, and God walked amongst us. That was called Satya Yuga. They had super advanced magic or technology, however you want to call it, and they used that technology. I actually think there's a remnant of that civilization, which is called the Maurya, here along the plane of the earth. And I'll give you all the evidence I have for that on another video coming up soon. And then, when the fallen angels came down, they established their own, rule and kingdom, which was Atlantis. And that's what the elites are worshiping or paying homage to, this fallen Atlantis. But it doesn't, it doesn't necessarily mean. I think it was, a different civilization, and they fell into darkness. They abused the knowledge that they had. Instead of using it for good, they used it for evil. Ring a bell? Anything going on right now? So the fallen, they fell for a reason, right? They fell from the grace of God. They fell from the first heaven or from wherever. And they did have this super advanced knowledge of magic and technology, which technology is really magic. It's supernatural. It's not natural is what I'm trying to tell you. It's the powers of creation They were twisting them and using them for selfish purposes, for egotistical purposes, for dark purposes. So they use that to enslave humanity, to cut down the giant trees, to destroy our connection with the Maker, with the Source. And we allowed it too. It's our sin that allowed these dark entities to come into this realm of ours. It's your sin that allows the evil to come into your life, into your soul. So you must purify yourself. You must start with your spiritual practices, with your sadhana. Are you praying to God? Beautiful. Are you just always praying? Are you just always asking, like, needy me? Or are you offering something? Are you offering your daily work? Are you offering your daily praises? Are you singing to the Lord? Are you helping the needy? It's just not just about helping your fellow man, but it's also about offering every single thing you do in your daily life to God and not expecting any recompense, okay? The fruits belong to Him. The Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is very clear in telling this to Arjuna. Do your duty. Do your duty and give the fruits of your labor to me. Offer them to me, and then your karma will be purified. Your soul will be purified, and that is the highest form of karma yoga that you can do. Do everything for God. Even if you're enjoying that tea, think of God. Offer it to Him. Her, it. I say Him as a measure of respect and familiarity. God is above such things. Remember that. I realize there's a ton of videos, thousands of videos telling you how to get more spiritual and closer to God. That's fine. I have my own way of doing it. You probably have your own way of doing it. Everybody has their own way of doing it. I'll do another video on some practical, city type things that you can do on a daily basis, like riding in your car and you're playing the Christian music, or you're playing the mantras and you're singing it out loud inside your car to God. And those things, you won't believe it, but they really, really make a difference. And bringing the grace, calling upon the grace of God. And He knows, He hears you, He sees you, He loves you. But it's like anything. If you have a student, or you have a kid, or you have a wife, or you have a girlfriend, or you have a parent, and you're always, telling them nice things and dedicating things to them, and you have a little present here and there, and you always have them in mind, dude, they're going to get closer to you. And that's where you get the feedback. The love, okay? God is going to correspond you in kind, and is going to bring you closer and grace you with His divine presence, His divine love, His divine beauty, His divine protection, abundance. And so I do not think that the fallen conquered the whole of the earth. They did not conquer the whole of humanity. I think they did conquer and plunder Midgard, which is, the center part where we are now. And there were huge wars like crazy, from between different species. And this is portrayed in Tolkien's Silmarillion and The Lord of the Rings, with the El, which are the descendants of these entities. And we don't necessarily know if there were some good ones that repented or not. Enoch says some did repent, but it said that didn't matter to God anyway. But the point is this: there might have been some parts of, human civilization that were possibly pre-Adamites, non-Adamites, that maintained the closeness to God, maintained the magic, crystal magic, in a positive way in God and for God. And these might be the Lemurians. I see strong evidence suggesting that they repelled the fallen, and they are standing and living to this day. And the plasma moon map proves that. So I will expose that in another video and tell you exactly where I think they are living right now, and why none of us are allowed there, because we're all been tainted by the evil. Let's face it, we're all so ignorant, and we need to purify our souls so that we may gain understanding. Okay, so I'm sharing these videos with you as a service to humanity, as a service to God, so that we may increase our understanding and get closer to the Creator.
This is no fantasy, no careless product of wild imagination. No, my good friends. These indictments that I brought you today, the specific charges listed herein against the individuals, their acts of treason, their ultimate aim of sedition, these are matters of undeniable fact. I ask you now to pronounce judgment on those accused. On this mindless aberration, whose only means of expression are wanton violence and destruction. On the woman Ursa, whose perversions and unreasoning hatred of all mankind have threatened even the children of the planet Krypton. Finally, General Zod, once trusted by this council, charged with maintaining the defense of the planet Krypton itself, chief architect of this intended revolution and author of this insidious plot, will establish a new order amongst us, with himself as absolute ruler. You have heard the evidence. The decision of the council will now be heard.
Guilty. Guilty. Guilty.
The vote must be unanimous, Jor-El. It has therefore now become your decision. You alone will condemn us if you wish, and you alone will be held. Could become an important voice in the new order, second only to my own. I swear it! No matter that it takes an eternity, you will bow down before me! Both you, and then one day, your heirs!
So in this clip of Superman, we have the story, the original story of the fall of the angels, the fallen. That crazy looking guy symbolizing the corruption and the perversion of the masculine, and the lady, Jor-El tells it like it is. She's also the corruption, the perversion of the feminine. And then the other guy symbolizing the devil, aka Kali, aka all the different names I don't want to mention, right? But so, are you bowing down? To whom are you bowing down? To whom are you worshiping? Whom are you serving? Are you doing your duty, your dharma here on earth like you should? Are you obeying and carrying out unlawful orders? Or are you doing God's commands? Are you serving God's purpose? What have you done today to earn His grace, His divine grace? Or are you bowing down like the devil here, is proclaiming that the heirs of God was being symbolized in this movie that will bow down to the devil? So which one is it? Okay? You're always needy. You're always asking for stuff. Are you going to bow down to the money, false deity, the moon eye, false god? Or are you going to bow down to the Creator who made you, whom through all things are made? So, you got to come to Christ in these times, these hard times, and also in the good times, and be truthful with Him and with yourself.
How to do all this?
I've only gotten so far studying Kryptonian technology. That's why I handed the job over to Dr. Clyburn and her crew.
Which we were more than happy to take on. Only recently have we discovered these supercondensed ionized crystals. We believe they acted as hyperwave acceleration units for transport.
Oh, the gas.
To put it simply, we pulled it from the main section of the pod, the baby's car seat, so to speak. It can only be activated one way.
You might want to look away for a moment, Miss Lane. Kryptonian tech can be a bit overwhelming.
What do you know about crystals?
They make great chandeliers.
This crystal may seem unremarkable, but so is the seed of a redwood tree. It's how our mutual friend in tights made his Arctic getaway spot. Cute, it's a little small for my taste. What? I'll have advanced alien technology thousands of years beyond what anyone could throw at me. Bring it on!
The crystals of Atlantis were mysterious objects. They could extend individuals' lives, heal the wounded, power a massive civilization, and protect the city. Although the crystal looked over all of the Atlanteans, only those of royal blood would ever be chosen to bind with it in times of desperation. The crystals held a great power, and it could use it as it saw fit, but using Gnocnir, the crystal spear of Atlantis, people would command the heart of Atlantis to perform amazing feats like rising Atlantis from the sea's floor. In return for its many gifts,
the crystal thrives on the collective emotions of all who came before us.
all of the Atlantean crystals' properties may seem random and unexplainable, but in reality, the crystals possess an origin that explains all of the secrets of Atlantis. These crystals did not descend from space from a normal comet. They are a magical crystal which came from the Mystic Isles. In the Disney Junior show Sophia the First, it is revealed the realm composing of all of the magical kingdoms we know from Disney canon exist in the Ever Realm. And this realm, above Atlantis and the rest of the world, is the Mystic Isles, a land consisting of countless floating islands, which is the source of all of the magic in the world. On one of those clouds, there's an Isle of Crystals.
For centuries, crystal masters on the Isle of Crystals have peacefully grown magic crystals for wizards everywhere to use in their scepters, wands, and amulets.
This is a place created to solely grow powerful crystals like the ones we see in Atlantis, so this seems like the most likely place the heart of Atlantis could have came from. Using a Terra Crystal, a crystal master could create wondrous crystals with a wide variety of capabilities. I think one of these Terra Crystals descended to Atlantis to create Gnocnir, since this spear was an item with capabilities of controlling the other crystals just like the Terra Crystal. I think Gnocnir was used to form the heart of Atlantis, but to grow crystals outside of the Isle of Crystals, there are consequences.
To grow magic crystals on the other Mystic Isles. Doing this will drain all the magic from the creatures who live there forever.
The magical payment for the heart of Atlantis was the collective emotions of those who came before. Individuals' hopes, their fears, the lust. Human emotion is enough to keep everything working and keeps the crystals alive. So far, the crystals of Atlantis seem to behave exactly like the crystals from the Isle of Crystals, but how could the early Atlanteans discover how the Terra Crystal worked? Well, I think the Terra Crystal did not descend on its own. I think the crystal was accompanied by a crystal master. The Crystal Master came down to rule the Atlanteans, and in exchange for ruling their people, the Crystal Master gave them the heart of Atlantis. This explains how the Atlanteans knew how to properly utilize the crystals and why the royal blood actually mattered. The royals were a line of crystal masters, so in times of need, crystals would choose a master to bind with it to allow the master to control the power of the crystal, all to protect the people of Atlantis. This revelation also explains why Kita's father knew Kita would be the next person chosen by the crystals if another disaster occurred. The crystal did not care Kita's father was king, it only sought after the blood of a crystal master, which Kita received from her mother. The crystals of Atlantis are mysterious and powerful, and I think they came from a magical world in the clouds known as the Mystic Isles. I think a Terra Crystal and a Crystal Master descended from the Mystic Isles, giving the Atlanteans power and protection, allowing them to become an advanced civilization. But this is only the beginning. The Crystal Masters formed crystals for many other groups beyond the Atlanteans, including the Trolls of Frozen. But that's for another time.
From the Book of Enoch, chapter 1, actually chapter 14, and I'll start with verse 9. If you can read along, that's better, instead of hearing my dyslexia all over the place. Here we go. The vision caused me to fly and lifted me upward and bore me into heaven. And I went in till I drew nigh to a wall which is built of crystals and surrounded by tongues of fire. And it began to affright me. And I went into the tongues of fire and drew nigh to a large house which was built of crystals. And the walls of the house were like a tessellated floor made of crystals, and its groundwork was of crystals. Its ceiling was like the path of the stars and the lightnings, and between them were fiery cherubim, and their heaven was clear as water. A flaming fire surrounded the walls, and its portals blazed with fire. And I entered into that house, and it was hot as fire and cold as ice. There were no delights of life therein. Fear covered me. And this is Enoch. This is not some teenage boy, okay? This is a guy that's been through everything. So fear covered me. What would make you so afraid? Just, ponder that. And trembling got hold upon me. And as I quaked and trembled, I fell upon my face. And I beheld a vision. So, guys, just pay attention to what he's actually describing. This is a grown man, over 200 years old. He's seen everything, death, destruction, everything, the full Monty. And he is falling down on his face, shaking like a little girl, or a little kid. What would make you do that? you would have to be like really freaking scared to do that, right? If you're a grown woman or a grown man. So it's nothing, that would be very easily dismissible. So it's something very intense right here that's describing. And as I quaked and trembled, I fell upon my face, and I beheld a vision, and lo, there was a second house, greater than the former, and the entire portal stood open before me, and it was built of flames of fire, and in every respect it so excelled in splendor and magnificent and extent that I cannot describe to you its splendor and its extent. And its floor was of fire, and above it were lightnings and the path of the stars, and its ceiling was flaming fire also. And I looked and saw therein a lofty throne. Its appearance was of crystal, and the wheels thereof as the shining sun, and there was the vision of cherubim. And from underneath the throne came streams of flaming fire, so that I could not look thereon. And the great glory sat thereon, and his raiment shone more brightly than the sun, and was whiter than any snow. None of the angels could enter and could behold his face by reason of the magnificence and glory, and no flesh could behold him. The flaming fire was round about him, and a great fire stood before him, and none around could draw nigh him. 10,000 times 10,000 stood before him, yet he needed no counselor. And the most holy ones who were nigh to him did not leave by night nor depart from him. And until then I had been prostrate on my face, trembling. And the Lord called me with his own mouth and said to me, Come hither, Enoch, and hear my word. And one of the holy ones came to me and waked me. And he made me rise up and approach the door, and I bowed my face downwards. Wow, so powerful. This is intense. This is the God magic. This is the God spell right here, Enoch. I'm not saying it's the gospel. The gospel belongs only to Christ. But this is so powerful, as you can hear. And it reaches and resonates with your soul immediately as truth. Undeniable truth. So, if you're an atheistic or a Buddhist or Hindu or Christian or whatever you may be, maybe you're a Gnostic or maybe you're a Mason. I don't know who's listening. But I hope this helps you on your journey. It's no coincidence. There's no such thing. You just need more data points to connect. But it's really important that you know and realize that Christ is the highest mystery there is. People think that all these are allegories. Like, I'm talking to average Joes on the street. People that have been blinded by the devil or by science or Gnosticism or whatever, or New Age stuff. They think, these are just concepts. Christ is just a state of being. The Christed light in you. It is that, but it's more than that. These are such powerful energies and levels of energies and divine presences that they actually do manifest in the spiritual realm and in the physical realm in flesh and blood. It's not an allegory. It's not a metaphor. These are such powerful divine principles that they actually take shape in physical form and interact with people. You have to know that, and if you haven't reached that level, you have to humble yourself, because lack of humility is going to keep you from that. And you have to ask God for his grace and to grace you with his presence and his divine love and understanding. Now let's read a little bit from the actual Bible. The NIV version, New International Version. Books have been taken out. It's been changed around, yes. But the message of God still goes through the enemy interference in the communications. You see, God is so powerful that he anticipates, they're going to take this book out, they're going to take that book out. I'm still going to get my message across because I know all things, okay? Keep that in mind. So Job 28:17, neither gold nor crystal can compare with it, nor can it be had for jewels of gold. So it's assigning a huge value to gold and crystal, but it's telling that this is more important, okay? Ezekiel 1:22, spread out above the heads of the living creatures was what looked something like a vault, sparkling like crystal, and awesome. He's talking about the vision of the throne room of God. It's got sparkling crystals. Revelation 4:6, also in front of the throne there was what looked like a sea of glass, clear as crystal. In the center around the throne were 4 living creatures, and they were covered with eyes in front and back. You could tell me, Keys, water's not a crystal. Duh, it is a crystal. Just look in your fridge. Water is a liquid crystal. LCD, liquid crystal display on your phone, on your computer. That one might not be water, it's a different crystal. But water is in fact a crystal. Okay? Just pour a glass of water with ice or whiskey on the rocks. I don't recommend drinking alcohol. And I'll tell you the reason for that in a different video. Revelation 21:11. I have a beer here and there. Okay? So I'm not Mr. Goody Two Shoes by no stretch of the imagination. I'm a sinner and the worst kind. So anyway, going forward, Revelation 21:11. It shone with the glory of God, and its brilliance was like that of a very precious jewel, like a jasper, clear as crystal. Revelation 22:1, or I love the name Apocalypse even better in the Greek. 22:1. Eden restored. Then the angel showed me the river of the water of life, as clear as crystal, flowing from the throne of God and the Lamb. And I'm not going into the new city, the new Jerusalem, which Christ is going to rebuild with a bunch of crystals. But you can look that up for yourself. Now we have Admiral Byrd, on the other hand, in his diary, when he goes to Agartha and, on the other side of the wall of the Antarctica, he claims to have met a super advanced civilization. I'm telling you, these are the Lemurians. I'll expose that in another video. I'm getting ahead of myself, but I'll give you a little hint here. He writes on his diary, 11:45 hours. I am making a hasty last entry in the flight log. Several men are approaching on foot towards our aircraft. They are tall with blonde hair. In the distance, it's a large shimmering city pulsating with rainbow hues of color. Oh my gosh, what could that be if not a city made of actual huge crystals, the Lemurian crystals, which are more on the side of goodness as opposed to the Atlantean crystals, which fell into darkness and dark magic, and ultimately God destroyed them all. So Admiral Byrd's diary could be fake, could be true, could be not. I see a lot of hints there that it's truthful, but it also has been redacted. I'll cover that in another video. In all this, guys, notice how the elites love to use reverse psychology on us to blind you to the truth. And it works wonders. They have all these nut jobs, scam artists, con artists, quacks, and hacks pushing crystals and crystal magic, and they know nothing about it. So then you're blinded. Your eyes are, sutured, with the lies, and your ears are also deafened, so that you can no longer, entertain these notions. And they know exactly full well what they're doing. So whenever you hear crystal or crystal magic, you'll be triggered into thinking, oh my gosh, stay away from that. It's not Christian. Or, it's voodoo. Or it's nonsense. Or it's new agey, or if you're new agey, and if you've, sang to the crystals and stuff in the past, then you're doing it wrong, because it's not about that. It's about God and God's manifestation of power, real physical, supernatural power in this realm of existence. So beware the reverse psychology. If you're triggered, you have to work on it. You have to work on it, like the flat earth and all those other things that I'm telling you and other people are exposing. You have to work on it. Your subconscious, your intellect. Feed the good data to you. Feed the good data to you. I mean, for example, I have a personal story to tell you. When I was young, like very young, in like grade school and in high school, I used to read everything about science, all the papers, all the studies. There was no internet back then, but I used to read all the Discover magazines, anything I could get my hands on, like thousands, literally. And my brother once told me when we were, adults, like, man, it's such a shame. You were so smart and you should have become a scientist. I always thought you were going to become a scientist. Good thing I didn't, right? But I am sort of because I would have been a fake BS scientist. But now, God has a plan, always has a plan. Every single little thing, you don't know it, but He has a grander vision that any of us could ever do. And now He's asking me, with using what He's telling me and teaching me, to share these insights with you of the reality of the universe we live in. So I hope this helps, guys. And it's an inner battle too. That's the most important one, with yourself, your soul, and God. I'd really like to thank you guys for listening. God bless you. Be filled with blessings in your life, abundance, protection, divine vision from the Almighty, from Christ, Krishna. Let God Almighty and Christ protect you always from all evil and guide you to the truth in your life, in love, in respect, in light, in wisdom. And be sure to comment on the comment sections. I love your comments. Questions, suggestions, tips. If I missed something, share these videos with everybody for future generations, your friends, family, open-hearted, open-minded souls and people. You can rip them, you can download them, repost them. They belong to humanity. They do not belong to me. Be sure to check out my website, keystoTheTruth.com. I also have a Patreon, Keys to the Truth. Your support is very much appreciated. And I will cover more of the taboo topics on the Patreon, on the website, because I will only cover more of the mainstream, if there's such a thing of mainstream in my videos, in the open platforms. But anyway, stay blessed.
Behold this vision. The story of Atlantis will show you truth. Atlas, king of Atlantis, is your guide. Listen to him speak of cities rule. His kingdom was destroyed by foolish pride.
I once faced a decision which destroyed my precious land. Our magic crystal, source of our strength, was brutally exchanged. We live monstrous here in your fort. Behold our crystal, powerful and white. From my children, I must choose a successor. But power has seduced them. I have lost command. They misuse our magic crystal. They destroy our precious land. Alaya, daughter of water, rules the ocean and the rain. Darkness, son of fire, wields the fury of all flame. I fall on them now, Alaya, grace us. With an angry triumph, she stands the time, focusing waves to dance. Her eyes are the color of the sea's greatest wave. Her head is dusted with gold from the ocean's flood.
Dear Father, I deserve your throne. Choose me. I quench deserts by dickling sky. I put out fires with a wink of my eye. Come out, brother, from wherever you hide. Try to survive the breath of this tide.
Be still alive. Put your child's ways to rest. That is my son. Come forth now. Behold, that is. His fingers are made of flint. His eyes are the color of flame. His heart burns on ambrosia oil.
Your force is a weak threat. I plucked this wave from the earth's edge. I'm the only one fit to rule this land.
Of this evil day, seek this mad war. I beg you, my children, destroy no more.
Give in, brother. Before you fade to nothing.
You're a liar. Your strength deceives you. My fire angers your water.
Stop this madness!
I ripped this beam from the
evil war, and so the gods shall settle the score.
With the cruelest rainstorm this world's ever seen, I'll silence forever so that I shall be queen.
Not before you collapse to my fiery sting. I'll burn your lyre, and then I will be king.
The rest of this earth is my duty to save. So I forced to set Atlantis to water and grave. The sun and the sea, what should it shall fill its world with water.
Wow.
Was this his house?
This is where he learned who he was. This is where he came for guidance. Possibilities. Endless possibilities.
You act like you've been here before.
There are questions to be asked. Here in this fortress of solitude, we shall try to find the answers together.
Can he see us?
No, he's dead.
So, my son. Khalil. Speak.
Tell me everything, starting with crystals.